Who was Melchizedek and why does he matter to us today? This is a question that can pique the curiosity of anyone who has ever skimmed through the pages of the Bible. The name Melchizedek is mentioned in two key parts of the Bible, Genesis and Hebrews, and he stands as a significant yet enigmatic figure in biblical history. The aura of mystery that surrounds Melchizedek is intriguing, yet it is his role and the significance of his character that provides valuable insights for believers. He's not a manifestation of the pre-incarnate Christ, but a distinct individual whose kingly priesthood was directly bestowed by God, just like Jesus. He's described as being without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life. While this isn't meant to be taken literally, it does signify that Melchizedek's position wasn't inherited through a physical lineage, but was a divine appointment. So, let's dive into the biblical narrative and unearth the mystery surrounding Melchizedek. Genesis presents Melchizedek as the king of Salem and a priest of God Most High. Melchizedek makes a brief but significant appearance in the biblical narrative. His encounter with Abraham is a momentous event. Abraham, returning victorious from a battle, is met by Melchizedek. This king and priest of Salem offers him bread and wine, symbolizing sustenance and celebration. He then blesses Abraham in the name of God Most High. In response, Abraham gives Melchizedek a tenth of everything, a tithe, underscoring the recognition and respect he has for Melchizedek's position. Now, what makes Melchizedek intriguing is his dual role as both a king and a priest. This was highly unusual in the Old Testament times, where these roles were typically separate. Melchizedek's kingship represents his secular authority, while his priesthood signifies his spiritual authority. These dual roles foreshadow the Christ who is both king and high priest. However, we must tread carefully here. There's a claim that Melchizedek was actually a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ. While this idea is fascinating, it isn't widely accepted. The Bible does draw parallels between Melchizedek and Christ, but they are distinct individuals. The depiction of Melchizedek as without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, is figurative, not literal. It illustrates that Melchizedek's priesthood was directly bestowed by God, just like Jesus' priesthood was not inherited through a physical lineage. So while Melchizedek's biblical narrative is brief, its significance cannot be understated. His unique position as a king and priest sets a precedent that carries forward into the New Testament, where Christ is portrayed as our king and high priest. While Melchizedek remains a figure of mystery, his kingship and priesthood set a precedent that carries forward into the New Testament. Now, you may ask, how does Melchizedek relate to us today? Well, the significance of Melchizedek in Christian theology is profound. His dual role as a king and priest is a foreshadowing of the role Christ would later take on. Think about it. Christ, like Melchizedek, is both a king and a priest, but not just any king or priest. He's the King of Kings, the high priest of a better covenant. This is a dual role that no one else in all of history holds, and it's a role that Melchizedek helps us understand. The writer of Hebrews uses Melchizedek as a type, a foreshadowing of Christ, emphasizing Christ's eternal priesthood. This is not a priesthood based on lineage, as was common in the Old Testament, but on the power of an indestructible life. Just as Melchizedek's priesthood was bestowed directly by God, so too was Jesus's. There's no genealogical line to trace, no human inheritance. This speaks to the divine nature of Christ's priesthood, a priesthood that continues throughout his reign and into eternity. So Melchizedek, this intriguing biblical character, helps us understand the unique and powerful role of Jesus Christ. As believers today, what can we glean from Melchizedek's story? The tale of Melchizedek imparts several invaluable lessons that are as pertinent now as they were in the biblical era. Firstly, it underscores the importance of acknowledging God's sovereignty. Melchizedek, a king and a priest, recognized and worshipped God as the ultimate power, setting an example for us to follow. Secondly, Melchizedek teaches us about the significance of offering our best to God. When he met Abraham, he brought out bread and wine, symbols of life and blessing. This gesture encourages us to bring forth our own offerings to God, not out of obligation, but out of a heart filled with gratitude and reverence. Finally, the Melchizedek narrative helps us understand Christ's unique role in our salvation. Just as Melchizedek's priesthood was directly bestowed by God, Jesus' priesthood was not inherited through a physical lineage, but given by God himself. This comparison illuminates the divine nature of Christ's mission and his eternal reign. Melchizedek, a figure of mystery yet a beacon of insight, continues to offer valuable lessons for us today. As we ponder on his story, may we gain a deeper appreciation of God's grand plan and our place in it.